Hi, I'm John Rieken, and welcome to my tour of the Transcon 4. It's a HO scale layout that runs across America using Chicago as its hub. To accomplish this, I have about 500 feet of main line, run about 40 mainline trains, have 16 to 20 operators, and run numerous locals and industries to switch. Now, I've talked too long, so my partner Bobby and I are going to take you on this virtual tour. Have fun. We're going to start on the east end of my layout. This is somewhere in central Pennsylvania. It's actually Glitzen. This is my over-under staging area for this part of the layout. On top is a staging area that comes out on Worcester, Ohio, and down below is the Pennsylvania main line over the two tracks over near the divider, and then there's 3 more storage track. The tracks on top will hold about 13 feet of train, and below about 15 feet of train. There's going to be a mountain on top in probably 3-foot sections. They'll all lift out, and the fascia here will also lift out. I never have derailments on my layout, but in case I do, these do lift out. And Barry and Will are going to show you. Very simple. It's just pink board insulation, and I can get right under there and fix anything that needs to be fixed. And then they just slip right back in the brackets. Moving westward from Glitzen staging, we come into Pittsburgh, and this is actually Pittsburgh Yard here on the right, and that's the double main line going through Pittsburgh. You see at the front of the station here, and there's a small diesel facility named after my good friend Lee Schramm. And down here we have, looks like Will's gonna put a caboose on a little high and wide train. And over here we have 28th Street Coach Yard. These all require an operator, and we're going to see a train moving out onto the main here right now, I believe. Barry's going to move a train out. And this is a little bit better shot of the Allegheny River Bridge. Again, thanks to my good friend Lee Schramm. My son built this center span years and years ago. Lee gave me the 2 end spans, so thank you, Lee. And here we have 2 Pennsy trains, one coming out of Pittsburgh and one coming around headed toward Glitzen, meeting on the Allegheny River Bridge. Continuing on the east end toward Chicago, this is the interlocker at Upper Sandusky called SY Tower. And this is where the Chesapeake and Ohio came over the Pennsy main. This is actually the city of Fort Wayne, Indiana. We're continuing west out of Pittsburgh towards Chicago. And this is FW Tower. This is where the nickel plate crossed the Pennsy line. And up on the hill we got a museum piece. The nickel plate donated this to the city of Fort Wayne, and they put it in a little park right near the city. I have several industries that we switch here on the Transcon 4. This is one of them. This is the Coble stamping plant for my good friend Rick Coble. And the Pennsy main line runs right behind it. We have a train rolling up to the Hobart home signal as we speak. The stamping plant takes a crew of its own. It works out of Chicago, comes down the hill, and this is not to be confused with the staging area. And Will's going to open up the roof here, and we'll get a look at what the staging area looks like. It's 5 tracks. Not very long tracks. I think the longest ones are roughly 6 feet long or so. but I can stage some trains in there. All of these are pointing towards Chicago. So that's not to be confused with the industrial tracks that the crew switches. And there's a good shot of the stamping plant right there. And there's the lead. And there's Hobart, Indiana. I'm walking into Chicago right now. This is the busiest room on the Transcon 4. It takes about 9 or 10 guys to work Chicago during an operating session. Here we're passing 59th Street Yard. There's Brighton Park, Burlington Cicero Yard. Here's 28th Street Coach Yard and Clearing Yard east and west on the end. We also have a transfer job that runs in here, taking cars from one yard to another. And Union Station is right below the divider there, with the commuter yard right there. As I said before, this is the area of Brighton Park up in Chicago. And the Pennsy switched this. A lot of industries up here. Prototypically, they switched Campbell Soup Company up here, and they switched Continental Can Company. So I have Campbell Soup, there's the little soup boy on this side, and Continental Can on the other side. This is a two-man job, so the crews will consist of an engineer and a conductor to see where all these switch out in. I have built a representation of Clearing Yard both east and west on my layout. Clearing Yard, located in south west part of Chicago, down near Midway Airport, used to be the largest yard in America. Of course, it's not anymore. But this is Clearing Yard East, and it looks like Barry's pulling a cut out here. My engine facility here is named after my very good friend Milton Burge. Milt is one of the finest men that I know. This is where the power is delivered on an incoming train and picked up for the outbound crew. This is Clearing Yard East. It's the largest yard on my layout, and you can't be a wimp and work this yard. Trains coming in here during an operating session, we break down and put together about 18 trains here. On the Transcon 4, this is Clearing Yard West. It's a smaller yard, but there's a lot of action here. They switch out the stockyard, the Swift packing plant. Down the way you can see a mill they switch out, and there's a warehouse that's also switched. Will's pulling a cut of cars out, working the yard, and there's the transfer jobs, power and caboose. This little job runs around Chicago, delivering and pulling transfer cars from each freight yard. West Yard will also make up and break down 2 trains per operating session. It's a nice little job. It's supposed to work in conjunction with the person over at East Yard, but men are the worst communicators in the world, and usually they don't talk to each other. Here in Chicago, I needed a yard for passenger cars, mail trains, so I built 12th Street Coach Yard, which is right next to present-day Roosevelt Road up in Chicago. All the passenger trains and mail trains either come through this yard or hit the main line, which is right next to the wall here. And if you're a passenger train, you swing around and you come under Union Station. There's the Gulfmobile in Ohio ready to leave. But back to 12th Street Yard. It sees about 10 trains an operating session. Mail cars are lined up to go over to the RPO facility at Canal Street. And passenger trains are switched out here, shoved back into Union or Dearborn Station for outbound moves. Another fairly large yard here in Chicago is Burlington Cicero Yard. We've got a switch engine making up the next train here. And you can see the engine facility down here. Again, this is where all the inbound power comes to and where the crew comes to get it when they get an outbound train. As I was saying before, I wanted to create RPO traffic coming through Chicago, so I created Jacob's Yard. That's named after my youngest grandson. Jacob Yard switches out RPO cars, delivers them back to 12th Street Coach Yard, and then gets RPO cars from 12th Street and bring back over here to Spot. And you see it up here against the wall there on the left. And we got Barry pulling a cut of RPO cars out now. It's a fun little job to work. Busy but fun. Just out of Chicago and toward Aurora, but we're really at Downers Grove. I have rather a robust commuter schedule that I run on my layout during an operating session. Here we see a dinky leaving Downers Grove headed into Chicago's Union Station. As I was saying before, I have several areas here on my layout that I stage trains. This is in Rochelle, Illinois. This is a little 6-track staging area, and you can see the Gulf Mobile and Ohio freight train moving out. All my trains are oriented towards Chicago. We're at Savannah, just outside of Savannah, Illinois. We're working west from Chicago now. This is the Burlington main line. It's the double main line you see here. And this is the Ford assembly plant. And it looks like we've got a switch into working the plant right now as we speak. This is a one-man job. It usually takes anywhere from an hour and a half to 2 hours to switch. Great little job for people who are intimidated by the main line. You'll actually have to fight milk birds for this job. This is the yard at Savannah, Illinois. This is just a very small yard. I put it in only because I needed somewhere to switch out cars to get lined up for the Ford plant that we just saw. The double main line runs through here, and the team track is on the extreme left. So we have a local coming out of Chicago on the Burlington that switches out the team track here. Right over here is a substation that a very dear friend of mine built years ago. Jeep Zemer, that's what he liked to be called. So he built Zemer Electric. He was actually an electrician himself. When I designed and built my layout, I had a decision to make whether to use a helix to get up to the second level or some other device. So I chose some other device. And this is my lift. You can see Will is running a train on the lift now from the second level. When he gets on, I'll let Barry know that he can let the lift down. And we'll show you how the train gets from the upper level to the lower level. Okay, the train is now on the lift. Barry, if you would bring the lift down. And down. The lift being down, Will is now going to take the train off and onto the first level. We're up on the upper level still. We're looking westbound, and we have a Great Northern freight train that is heading out of town. This is St. Paul, Minneapolis, Minnesota, the Twin Cities. I only meant this to be a very small yard to where each railroad can hand off trains to each other. I hope you've enjoyed this video of my Transcon 4 layout, and when times return to normal, I'd love to have you come visit.